your plate now, where every bite brings you closer to the farm gate and further from what's unhealthy. Now here's your hosts, Julie and Tammy, helping you live well by filling your plate well.
So Tammy Baker, General Manager of the Arizona Milk Producers. Are you ready to be my guest?
I know, we're home alone today, aren't we?
We are home alone, but I kind of like it when we do this every once in a while because, you know, I've labeled you the nutrition ninja, and I just think it's important sometimes that I talk to you about the nutritional things because if we are farm gate to plate, I want to hear from you. This is what you've been practicing all your life, all your professional adult life. So I think, and then our topic today, I think, is the power of protein is going to be really essential. Protein is essential in our diets. And so I'm ready to just ask you some great questions. And I appreciate that you're willing to be the one that's going to have all my questions pelted at you.
You're going to grill me on this
Yes,
today, huh?
I'm going to grill you on it. So,
no, protein's important.
yes. Well, then let's just launch into it. So we all get some protein on our diets, and we have to get it in our diets every day. But why is it important to eat protein that's contained in foods, or, you know, especially our meat proteins?
Well, protein is the building block for the body, or one of the three main building blocks for the body. So we need to get plenty of protein in our diet, and we're hearing about protein everywhere we go now,
right?
Because it's just essential in so many things that our body does. Most of our organs are made up of protein, largely made up of protein. Our muscles, largely made up of protein. Our hair, our nails,
Isn't that wild?
Almost everything has at least some protein in it in our bodies. And getting protein from food allows you to get more of the whole nutrient package than just taking it in a supplement. It may not be as well absorbed in the supplement as it is in the food, depending on your choices.
Well, it totally works for me because I love pork, I love beef, milk has protein in it, I love my dairy products. So this is going to be an interesting conversation. So what are the benefits then of protein and consuming it daily?
Well, we need to replenish what is lost from our body, but also protein is one of those things that helps to give us satiety. And that's important. If we have protein at every meal, we will stay full a little longer.
Okay.
With kids and youth, when you are taking in something like protein that'll help you stay more satisfied, then you can concentrate on your studies, you can concentrate on your job as an adult because you're not thinking about how hungry you are.
Right.
So that's important. And also protein is a huge component of helping to build and rebuild muscle mass. And it's important to get it on a daily basis to help with that rebuilding process.
And that's regardless of what age you are, obviously.
Absolutely.
Are all proteins equal or are some better than others?
You know, it's funny. Many people don't realize that proteins are not equal.
Okay.
Proteins are made up of what we call amino acids, and there are 20 different amino acids that you need to make up the complete protein. However, 11 of them our body can make. So we don't necessarily have to have those in foods. Our body can make them. However, 9 of them are considered essential amino acids because we can't make them. So we have to get them from the foods we eat. So when you hear the word complete protein, that means it has all those essential amino acids.
So what are those proteins that are complete proteins? I would assume beef, pork, dairy.
Yes. Most of the complete proteins are from animal sources. Not all, but most. Milk, cheese, yogurt, dairy products are from an animal, so they're complete. They have complete proteins. Beef, pork, chicken, fish from an animal or from fish, and also complete proteins. Eggs, complete protein.
Yeah. Okay.
However, also soy and quinoa and even chia seeds are complete proteins. But it would take a lot of chia seeds
So-
to really get what you'd get in one serving of milk or one serving of beef.
Well, that's what I love when you talk to me about the dairy industry, which you represent. And I talked to Lauren Mailing with the Arizona Beef Council, and that's what she always says. 3 ounces of beef will give you that complete protein because of the amino acids that you're referring to.
Right, and you can even go one step further because it can be a complete protein and have those 9 essential amino acids, but not be a high quality protein. And that means that it's going to be absorbed a little better for various reasons.
Okay.
And maybe a more balance of the amino acids. Maybe there's something that is kind of fighting for absorption otherwise. But high quality proteins, again, are the animal proteins, soy, quinoa, chia are examples of non-animal proteins. But primarily your animal proteins are high quality proteins and they're complete proteins. So those are the things if you're going for the biggest bang for the buck, you want to go for those foods to get that protein.
Those animal proteins. Okay, so I'm hoping I can throw you with this question. Is there a difference? Is there a difference between a complete protein or complete proteins and high quality proteins?
You know, it's kind
Because
of...
I hear both.
Yeah, and a complete protein has all the amino acids, but for whatever reason, and a high quality protein also does. But the high quality protein also is better absorbed. So if you are taking in what's called a complete protein in your diet, it may not all be completely absorbed and utilized by your body.
Oh, okay.
And the animal proteins are the high quality proteins.
And complete protein.
And complete proteins. And soy and quinoa and chia seeds also, just as examples, yeah.
Okay. Darn, I didn't throw you on that question. What is the difference between, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, casein and whey protein?
Casein and whey are both complete proteins, high quality proteins. However, casein and whey, they're both in milk. They're in all animal-based milk, human milk, cow milk, goat milk. But casein is absorbed much more slowly. So it gives you more satiety. It's absorbed over time.
And satiety means
that you're
satisfied,
full. Yes,
you're full. Okay.
You aren't hungry.
Yeah.
It takes longer to digest.
Okay.
So it's a good protein for rebuilding muscle mass.
Okay.
Whey, on the other hand, is another complete high-quality protein. However, it's absorbed very quickly. And it's great at building, and...
Where is the casein coming from? I mean, what exactly does that mean?
Casein is just one of the proteins in milk.
Okay.
And whey is also.
I am learning so much today. What other foods contain high-quality protein? Again, maybe not complete protein, now that I've learned the difference.
But the high-quality proteins are generally in your meat products. And then again, like I said, the soy, the quinoa, there's a few that are not high-quality proteins. If you are eating something that is, like, let's say, you're talking about beans, they always say you need to combine it with rice, or you need to have some kind of carbohydrate there to combine with the beans to make it more of a complete protein. But by itself, it is not as well absorbed as some of the animal proteins.
Okay, my nutrition ninja. What do I need to consider when I'm choosing a protein?
Just like your entire diet, you want to consider what your goals are. If you are really looking to build and rebuild muscle mass, then you want to go for those high-quality proteins. However, if you're just really looking for a well-balanced diet with all the nutrients that you need, you want to look at the whole nutrient package in everything you eat. So, I mean, like a glass of milk does have a huge number of nutrients, and it's got calcium for bones, but it also has high-quality protein. You can get both in one food. However, if you're not if you're looking specifically to build muscle mass, you want to make sure they're those high-quality proteins, and you want to take them in after you work out, usually within an hour, to make sure you're getting that absorption right away to help rebuild muscle mass or build muscle mass. But if you're just looking at overall health, you want to make sure you're looking at the total nutrient package and what you're consuming that has protein in it.
And a good blend of
Yes.
foods on your plate.
Yes, and you also want to make sure you're getting your fruits and vegetables because there's other nutrients in fruits and vegetables and antioxidants to help keep you healthy. So protein you need for a number of functions, but you want to have a varied diet from all the food groups to make sure you're getting a healthy diet overall.
So I have a question for you, and I'm a walker. I walk 3 miles a day, but I'm not doing any strength training right now, which, yes, I need to be doing that. But a lot of times if I'm like fully satisfied, I've had a good, well-balanced meal for my breakfast and my lunch. Sometimes I'm just I've started doing this lately. I just have a glass of milk. Is that okay, or am I denying I love, you've inspired me to consume more dairy, so.
Good.
Would you
I'm
approve?
glad. I'd approve.
Would you approve of that?
It's always good to spread your meals out throughout the day.
Okay.
And not eat too heavy at the evening meal because it just helps with a better digestion.
So the milk, a glass of milk, that's pretty good.
Well, yeah. Think of what you're eating like your bank account.
Okay.
Probably if you put money in earlier, maybe it's made more interest. But in the end, as long as you're taking in the total combination of nutrients, or you're putting in a certain amount in your bank account for the day or for the month, you'll be fine.
Okay.
You don't even have to really make sure you have everything every day, but you want to make sure over the course of a week you're getting a varied diet and you're getting plenty of protein.
Okay. You say that protein is important at every stage of life. I've heard you talk about that more than once, and we have these different stages of life. Give us an example of why young children especially need protein, especially in their first 2 years of life. That first 2 years sounds critical. Why?
Well, if you've ever been around a newborn, a family with a newborn, and then seen the child a year later or 2 years later, you know how fast they grow. And so protein is really a building block to help with that growth, not only just physically what you see, but internally everything is developing. And it's important to have plenty of protein in their diets because of that rapid growth and development. And you want to make sure they have adequate amounts of protein during those early years.
Studies have been coming out, too, for several years that children that don't get the amount of protein that they need, it really impacts their cognitive abilities, their focus and learning abilities in school. So more and more we're realizing how critical protein is.
Yeah, and it also, it's that whole nutrient package. Like, for instance, if they aren't getting enough dairy, the protein, they may not be getting enough protein. However, they may also not be getting enough choline, which helps with brain development, or they may not be getting nutrients that help with bone development. So the whole nutrient package is important, and protein's a part of that. So it's just making sure they get plenty of food from all the food groups, and especially plenty of protein when they're growing.
Well, we've been feeding that little toddler well, too. He or she looks wonderful, and we can tell that nutritionally they're eating what they... But let's move to the next kind of generation, Gen Z. What do we need to know about them?
Well, I think, of course you need protein for growth, but your body is always breaking down and rebuilding. So you continue to need protein and other nutrients to keep that process going. When you're young, your metabolism is just going like crazy. But when you're in that Gen Z category, and actually even millennial category, you may be chasing things at work to make sure everything is taken care of, or you may be chasing kids. And you've got to keep that...
Or both.
Or both, which many of them do, multitasking. To keep up that energy level, to keep up the satiety so you're not constantly hungry and you can concentrate, it's important to have that protein.
Yep. So for both Gen Z and millennials, they have to be as serious about their protein consumption as when we're younger. And we're beyond those generations. So they have to know that, especially if they have a fast metabolism, they've got to be making a priority of the protein that they consume.
Yes, and if they're working out, they need it to help replenish muscle mass if they break down muscle mass, or build more muscle.
What would you say to parents with children 2 to 12 years old? What is the importance of protein in their children's diet? Kind of flipping back to the younger group. Of
Bless
kids.
them. There's a lot they're going through if they're balancing life.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to look at school schedules. You have to look at what stage they're in. You want to make sure they can concentrate in the morning. So you want to make sure they have a good breakfast with some protein in it so that they can concentrate on their studies, not their stomach. And, you get into picky eaters at that age as well. So you really have to look at ways to combine the foods they need and put it in a package that they'll eat.
Yeah.
And that takes some doing, and it may take certain recipes where you're hiding foods, but it can be done. You just have to look at what are their preferences and then try to make sure they're getting that varied diet within what they actually will eat.
So the millennial parent, while they have to worry about a balanced meal in their own lives, they're chasing after kids that are growing very fast, and they've got to look at that balance is the takeaway I'm getting from your insights.
Yes, and with a very young child, they may not be able to eat everything. They may be getting teeth. They may have to have something that's soft and mushy, and things like cottage cheese might be easier and high in protein for a child at a young age.
Wow. What about athletes? This is a whole different class of people, regardless of their age. Talk about, especially our pro athletes or our college athletes or in high school. There's a whole level of things that need to be considered about consumption of protein when you're talking about the athlete.
Right. Especially as they get a little bit older, that diet is really important to their performance. And as they get more serious about sports, it really is very, very important. And you often hear chocolate milk is a great muscle recovery beverage, and it is. And but they don't often talk about it's a good idea to have that chocolate milk or other high quality protein within an hour after you work out to really help get that rebuilding process started.
Okay.
The other thing is making sure they're well hydrated. We had someone on not too long ago talking about hydration and how important and how the body can go haywire. And I really look at the athlete kind of like you look at a sports car. You can put an average gas in an average car, but if you put that gas in the sports car, it may not run quite as well. Oh. And as you become more specialized and fine-tuning your body, you need to really watch the fuel you're putting in it very closely.
One thing that strikes me that you just said, within a 60-minute period after a heavy-duty workout routine is when they have to consume that recovery drink in the case of milk, chocolate milk, or something like that.
They don't have to consume it
Okay.
within the first hour, but it will be a little more beneficial.
Okay.
And also the other thing is if you have to consume this right after you exercise, you make a point to do it, but it's easy to get preoccupied a little later in the day and maybe not consume anything that's high in protein at all, and then that workout didn't do you quite as much good. So, it's good just when it's top of mind to do it, but also start on that rebuilding process right away.
So I'm not a Gen Z. I'm not a millennial. I'm not an athlete. What about us older adults?
Now you
Or
were
mature
an athlete.
Yeah,
you were a swimmer.
Well, thank you. In high school.
A couple years ago.
Yeah, just a few years ago.
Yeah.
But what about the more mature adults, I'll say?
Well, I think there's really exciting research in this area now because they used to say, once you're 25, 30 years old, you start losing muscle mass. And you do start losing muscle mass. However, they're seeing now that you actually can rebuild some of the muscle mass that's lost and keep that muscle and keep that definition. You may need a little more protein at that age. It may not be absorbed as well, or you may be breaking down more, but you can rebuild some of that muscle mass if you're getting plenty of high quality protein. And I would also say the high quality protein comes into play too because as you age, your level of calories go down. Also, individuals on weight loss diets or taking weight loss drugs, you have just a limited number of calories. And to make those calories as beneficial as possible, you want to try to get those high quality proteins that absorb well because your taking advantage of all the nutrients then
Okay.
in what you're eating for the calories you're consuming.
So, is there any value? I'm going to make this a personal question again, especially if I get back into strength training. Is there even any value of meal prep prior to a workout, even if it's whatever? I mean, what's the value of something like that?
You know, there is some research now too saying, you know, consuming like a high protein milk or milkshake drink or something prior to working out
Okay.
can be as beneficial as post workout, or that you should do both. There are a lot of food preferences involved there, and the type of workout. If you are going to go and run like 10 miles, your stomach may not feel comfortable having as much in it or the
Right.
same kinds of things as if you are just doing weightlifting.
Okay.
So, you know, you've got to look at what you're going to be doing and what your digestive system tolerates.
So, how much protein should we consume? And I assume it varies based on the age of the individual.
You know, there's a lot out there on how much you should consume, and it really is quite a range. It's 10% of your diet to 35% of your diet. So that's in a 2,000 calorie diet, which is the average diet that labels are geared towards. That would be between 50 and 175 grams.
Okay.
Now, no one's going to measure 50 to 175 grams. I would say what you want to do is try to have protein at every meal and snack, and that would be about a quarter to a third of your plate.
Okay, a
in
quarter
protein.
to a third of the plate. Is there a time element? I mean, is there an ideal time to be consuming these proteins if we want to get the right amount of protein for our lifestyle?
Research shows that consuming, you know, small frequent meals or 3 meals and a couple of snacks throughout the day where you can spread it out helps you absorb everything that much better.
Oh, okay.
But I also think that it's really important to put some of those key nutrients early morning at breakfast, because then at least you know you have gotten one good solid meal with high quality nutrients in it and protein. And we actually have a ton of recipes on our website, arizonamilk.org, with breakfast recipes that are high in protein.
Oh, excellent.
And yeah, and it doesn't have to be a breakfast food. I was never a breakfast food eater. I was more of a
really?
pizza for breakfast type of person, or a sandwich for breakfast, or, you know, I do love the high protein milks. And so if you're eating on the run, those high protein milks you can get now are anywhere from 24 grams of protein to 42 grams of protein.
I know it's the amount in those protein drinks is a lot better in terms of the protein than what it was in the past. So that's good because it can kind of save you some time if you're rushed, especially at breakfast. Can I ask you then, are you better at doing more smaller meals throughout the day, or, you know, what's your gig?
You know, it depends on the day.
Yeah.
And I think for everybody, it depends on the person. If you have in your mind you're going to eat 6 small meals, but you don't have time to stop all day long, then it doesn't help you. So
No.
that's one of the reasons I think having a good breakfast, it helps with satiety. It helps you get some of those core nutrients in at the beginning of the day. And then, you know, you try to eat throughout the day, or if you're just a breakfast, lunch, dinner person, you just make sure you get the other nutrients at those meals. But every day can be a little different. And
Sure.
so it's always a good idea to have a eating on the run
Kind of
snack pack or,
Yes,
or
yeah.
foods available. And that's, I know when my daughters were in high school, they had to catch the bus at 6:30 in the morning. Well, what teenager is hungry at 6:30 in the morning, right? So I would give them a high protein milk. I knew their lunch was actually at 10:30 because they started so early.
Wow.
But it gave them something. If they weren't ready to eat, and a lot of teenagers aren't early morning, you know, something that's portable, that's got a good amount of protein in it, will at least help them start the day off with a little bit of satiety. So
Right.
you just look at your schedule and you see where you can fit the foods in.
I know I'm really good with my breakfast and probably too good for my lunch, but breakfast is really important to me. If I don't eat a good breakfast, I start getting the shakes later in the morning, as early as the morning. So it's really important to me to get a good breakfast.
And it helps you concentrate.
Yeah.
If you are hungry, or if you just have something that doesn't have a lot of protein or fat in it, just some carbohydrate, it lasts for a little while, and then you're hungry again.
Mention your website again in terms of breakfast recipes.
ArizonaMilk.org.
And then fillyourplate.org. It's kind of, this podcast is kind of a spinoff of that, Fill Your Plate Now. We have some breakfast recipes. And in fact, I have to say, I think some of our recipes are coming from you guys too. Way back when I was drawing upon all of our farmers and ranchers, and then you guys for that.
Good.
So, and also Arizona Beef Council. And the azbeef.org, I think, has some really good recipes too.
The internet is a beautiful thing when it comes to recipes. You can find anything.
It is. Any suggestions on what to eat for breakfast to start the day off right? Especially if maybe you have time to make preparations. You're not just going to grab that protein, that 40 grams of protein drink or a protein bar.
Yeah, I always have good intentions, but I find the best thing to do is to plan ahead, and maybe on the weekend make something like, we have some recipes on our website with cottage cheese high protein muffins.
Oh.
And you could make them
Yeah.
on Sunday and have one every day. Or, as I said, the high protein milk, but yogurt parfaits are great because you've got,
True.
especially Greek yogurt, that's a great source of protein. Greek yogurt, and then fruit, and then some nuts, which have a little bit of protein in them. And it's pretty, it tastes good, and that's a great early morning meal. Smoothies are great all times a day, and you can even add extra protein to it. If you make it with Greek yogurt, a little bit of milk, some frozen fruit, that's an easy one. You pop it in the blender and it's ready to go. Eggs are always a great thing in the morning, and you can actually you can put eggs and cheese and maybe some veggies together, whip it up, and you can actually put it in muffin cups and cook it that way, and then have like a whole muffin cup. And I know some of the coffee establishments have protein bites that are basically egg bites.
Yeah, basically egg bites. Yeah.
Yeah. So all those things are easy to do things in the morning, and even just grabbing a container of yogurt, or if you're not a breakfast person, having leftovers for breakfast.
That's true. There for a while, I would always just hard boil my eggs on the weekend, and then I'd have 1 or 2 eggs for my breakfast. Now, because I get up so early, I scramble a couple of eggs, put some greens in them, and have my breakfast and coffee. So it works for me right now. I actually have the time to make, scrambled eggs every day with some spinach in them or some other type of greens. If I have some leftover vegetables from the night before, maybe I didn't eat all my asparagus or broccoli, I'll toss in there with the scrambled eggs. So
that's great. You get a serving of vegetables in there. And I think, too, you look at what your meals look like throughout the day, and you can always add extra protein to some of them. Like, for instance, a cup of coffee, you can put half milk, half coffee.
Oh, good idea.
But you're still getting your coffee, or you can add a slice of cheese to a sandwich you're having, or an extra slice of meat to the sandwich. So there's ways to add protein to what you're already getting.
I loved one time you told me that a latte, because they always put milk in it, is 1 serving of dairy. So I'm like, okay, I'm at least beginning with my 1 serving of dairy, if I have a latte.
Yeah, and in our hot Arizona weather, you can have like a cold brew
with
milk
true.
in it too.
Yeah, exactly. So what are your overall takeaways on behalf of our listeners on what to remember about protein?
I think it's important to remember that protein is one of the powerhouse nutrients for our body. So we need to have protein every day. And I think it's also important to try to put it towards the beginning of the day to start with, to make sure you're getting satiety, and your breakfast starts your brain. So you want to make sure you have a good breakfast. You want to try to get high quality proteins, which is very important. And there are a ton of recipes online on both your website and my website to give all of our listeners ideas.
So, Tammy, you are the nutrition ninja. This was very helpful. I feel like I understand the importance of protein in our diets, regardless of age, regardless of lifestyle. And the other thing that strikes me about what you've told us today is that it's doable even if you feel like you're always on the run. If you're a full-time working mom or dad in the millennial group, and you also have to worry about the protein your children, you're like stretched very thin, but it's all doable based on what you told us.
Yes, I mean, I think you don't want to change your overall lifestyle because it's hard to stick to major changes. You want to fit those foods you need into what you're already doing.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a very good takeaway. Tammy, as always, thank you. And to be continued with some of the most insightful and helpful tips for nutrition for our future and for our health. Thank you much.
Oh, thank you. This was fun.
Yes.